All right, today we are looking at one of the most beautiful banjo songs out there. It's Hills of Mexico. This truly is one of my absolute favorites. And I know a lot of times you see versions of this song and it looks really difficult, but not only can you play this song, but we're going to learn it by ear today. All right, so let's get into it. First, I'm going to play a little bit of the song so you know what it sounds like. Okay, so first thing I want to mention is that there is tab for this song, right? So what we're learning today is sort of the beginner basic arrangement, which you can find in the tab as well. But I'm going to give you a couple ideas about how you might fancy it up in there also. So you can check the description for that. So this song actually has a little bit of an unusual framework for old time songs, right? So most old time songs have an A and a B part. We just go A, B, right? This one is just a little different. We still have two parts, A and B, but we go A, B, B, A, right? So A followed by twice through B, followed by A again. So there's really only two parts to learn for this song, and then there's just a little bit of filler in between each section, which I'll give you some ideas about as well. So let's start with that A part. And really what we want to do is just learn the melody, right? The bare bones minimum to make it sound like Hills of Mexico. So the best way to do that is to sing the song to yourself. Oh, when I... So I'm going to just play that melody piece and sort of sound it out with the words. I'll do that a couple of times. And what would be great is if you grab your banjo and just give this a try. See if you can do the same thing and figure out where those melody notes are. So it's going to be, oh, when I was in Old Fort Worth in 1883. That's the A part. That's the whole A part right there, right? Let's do it again. All right, one more try. Oh, when I was in Old Fort Worth in 1883. See, this is why it's so much better than learning from tab in some ways, right? Like tab's complicated, tons of notes. I can't memorize at all. When we learn by ear, much less to memorize, and then we just fill in the blanks, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, so let me pop open that melody tab on screen, and I'll just play through it one more time. Now, next thing we want to do is layer on that basic bum-diddy on top of that, all right? So here's what that looks like. Again. All we're doing there is we're just taking that melody we came up with and just combining it with the bum-diddy. And that really is our most basic possible arrangement. So let's do that for the B part as well. And then we'll look at that filler part and I'll show you some ways to fancy it up. The B part is just a little bit fancier, right? Because we're going a little bit up the neck. Interesting thing about the B part though, too, is we're going to look at a couple of chords here. We'll hold those as well during the bum-diddy. So let's get into that. So to kind of sing along with the melody, it's going to be some old Mexican cowboy come stepping up to me. Look, you don't have to be a great singer to do this. It's enough to kind of hear it in your head, right? Okay, so let me do that a couple more times. You try to find it on your own. Some old Mexican cowboy come stepping up to me. And that really is kind of how you figure out these melodies, right? You kind of be able to hum it or sing it in your head or out loud, and you just try to find those notes on the banjo, right? And this makes it so much easier to memorize as well. Okay, so here is what that tab looks like. I'll play it through it one more time. And then when we layer on that basic bum-diddy, here's what it looks like. One thing to note here, though, we've got two chords here, the E minor and the C chord here. Well, we've also got the G, but G is just the open strings. For the E minor chord, because we're on that 5th fret as we are playing it, we want to play the E minor chord up here. So that's just going to be 4th fret of the 3rd string, 5th fret of the 2nd string, 5th fret of the 1st string. And then our C chord there, okay? So we play it all together with the bum diddy. It's going to sound like this. Got it? Okay, play that with me. Let's do it one more time. Not too bad, right? And so that's the whole song, basically. That's our A part and our B part. So we would do that A part once, B part twice, back to the A part, and that just repeats. Now, there's one thing a little extra in this song, and that is that we have this sort of filler in between each part, right? So, oh, when I was in Old Fort Worth in 1883. And we just kind of hang out. We're just playing that G chord. When we're ready, we go into that next part. Again, we're hanging out. A part. And look, you can, it can be really as simple as that. Just kind of just hang out, do the basic bum diddy, or we can get pretty fancy with it. And if you want to get fancy with it, stay tuned to the end of the video. Actually, this is like a perfect spot to use these basic backup patterns. There's so many good ones, and I will link a video that will walk you through some of the most important ones. And these patterns really you can just throw right in here to this part where you're just hanging out on that G chord, right? And kind of liven it up, make it sound really good. Okay, so let's play through the whole thing. This is our bare bones arrangement, and then we'll talk about some ways to make it a little fancier. All right? All right. Alrighty, like if you are a newer banjo player, like honestly, I'd be pretty happy with this. And if you're just singing, you're just, kind of backing up your singing, this is going to sound good as is. But we can always make it a little fancier, right? And there are really two main directions I like to take this. One is sort of sparse and simple, and we add a lot of syncopation. And the other is kind of fast, upbeat. We are throwing in sort of some drop thumb, hammer-ons, pull-offs, that sort of thing. I'm just going to give you a couple of ideas for each. We'll look at the A part, the B part, and that filler part and see what you like. And remember, this is just what I like. What you like may be totally different. Feel free to do what works for you. Okay, so for that A part. So I'm going to leave the sort of sparser syncopated version in the tabs. You can grab that there and you can experiment with that. For our slightly more advanced version, we'll just look at the sort of more upbeat hammer-ons, pull-off slides, that kind of thing, right? Okay, so for this A part, here's how I might fancy it up. Okay, so what am I doing there? All I'm doing is just adding a little drop thumb there. Instead of just that basic bum diddy, we can just add a little drop thumb. Just to make it a little more notey, liven it up a little bit, right? Then we just come up here, and we can just do that pull off. Add a little drop thumb in here as well. Okay, now remember, our basic version goes... But what I was doing there was a little slide. Here's how that works, okay? So we have our open second string, would normally be the melody note there, right? Well, one easy way to find a slide is we can look and say, okay, well, the 4th fret of the 3rd string is the exact same note as the open second string, and we can just slide into that. So I'm just sliding in from the second fret. And we come back down, do a little pull off. Do a little pull off onto the open string, hit that second fret of the fourth string, and then back to our bum ditty. So all together, I'll play that really slow. And now we have our little filler part. What do we do there? Well, again, this is a great spot for those backup patterns, which, check the video at the end for those. But what I like to do here in this upbeat version is something I call the ghost hammer. So all I'm doing is I'm going bum, ditty, coming in and skipping and hammering on to that second fret of the fourth string. Brush stroke, thumb pluck. So 1, 2, and skip, and 4, and 1, 2, and skip, and 4, and gives you this really nice kind of galloping sound at speed. So I think that sounds really nice in that sort of filler part, right? Then we have our B part. So here is again how I might fancy it up. So what am I doing here? I'm just using mostly a lot of hammer on. So we hammer on from the open string to the second fret. Pretty much exactly the same as our basic version. But now when we go into this E minor at the fifth fret, I'm just doing a brush stroke on the 1 and just kind of throwing in a little drop thumb in there as well. So see what I'm doing there? Brush stroke, drop thumb. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. And you can kind of mess with that however it feels right to you, right? You can't go too wrong here. And we would come down to that C chord. I like to hammer on into that C chord. So I'm going to strum the open strings and then just hammer on those 3 frets for the C chord. Right? So I like to just do a little pull off there. So we're pulling off the second fret of the first string there. First fret of the second string. Open first. And then whatever you feel like doing here, right? I switched this up so I'm doing kind of the ghost strum in that filler part between the A and the B parts. After the B parts, I like to do something a little different because I'm kind of starting it from these upper strings. I kind of tend to like to do a little just like noodling around, playing, hitting different strings on the bum of the bum ditty, maybe doing a little drop thumb. So might be something like, and then just into that next part. So let me play through that B part, a little fancied up, nice and slow, right? So I'm just kind of adding just a little bit of, excitement, a little variety to that in-between part. And I think that sounds nice because there's not a whole lot going on there. You are welcome to just keep it simple and maybe just, bounce between the first and the second strings. That's going to sound great as well. The thing is, like, these are the embellishments I choose to add. Yours very well might be different, and that is totally fine. That's kind of how you make the song your own. Now, if you're looking for ways to sort of improve your patterns for clawhammer banjo and start to recognize how to string some of these together, please check out this next video. I think it'll be really useful. I'll see you next week. All right.